already because it's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and welcome everybody to Real Unfiltered Talk. I'm James Black, along with two-time world champion, master bass angler, and kind of a pretty good guy, Dion Hibdon. Dion, welcome to the show tonight. How are you tonight?
I am doing wonderful. Everything's great.
It's all good?
Yes, sir.
I'm having some real buffering issues on the other side of Facebook, so if you guys don't hear us, just hang tight, and it'll come in. It could be me, but don't know if I can get a lot of messages tonight. We're going to do the best we can. So, welcome aboard, and it's good to see you, and all that good stuff. So, what's a good word tonight? Got anything?
Oh, no. Fishing's good. Everything's been going good. I think it's going to be great.
Popping up on here.
But, anyways, no.
Whew, okay.
And get out fishing. Good time.
Get out fishing, it's a good time.
That's
How
right.
was your week? Did you have a good week?
I did. I have. Everything's been going good. Had a great week.
That's cool. We've got some new toys tonight, so I'm going to try my best to straighten them out and show you here as it goes a little bit later. But, so did you do any fishing?
Yeah, I fished a little bit. Me and my wife did.
That's my wife and I.
Oh, my wife and I.
Yeah, we gotta
Sorry.
get grammatically correct here on the show. You
Yeah.
know? Gotta pick on
we
somebody.
We fished a little bit. Everything was good. And caught quite a few. We didn't win, but we had 14, almost 15 pounds, and had a good time. Caught a bunch of fish, a bunch of keepers. That's the important part.
You know, for those who aren't from Missouri and haven't been around for a little bit or for just vacation here, it's 97 degrees today out there.
It got hot.
Man, summer came quick. I didn't like that at all.
It went from cool nights to 90 degrees all day long.
You know, they say the dad bod thing is kind of cool, but it's actually not. It might be cool to the girl and to guys. I realize that my dad bod, I'm just fat now. I walk outside and just start sweating.
I don't like the sweat rings. I get like little rings and certain areas on my body, So I don't think that looks good.
For the seam,
yeah,
you got a little bit coming out of the seam there.
That's right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I'm sure it goes down to the back crack.
The back crack.
It looks bad. I'm sure.
Oh mercy. That's a good
yeah,
one.
the heat bothers me too. But I enjoy it. The heat doesn't bother me a whole lot when it comes to getting out there and going fishing. And I think that's just because I get to do what I like to do, how I like to fish. So whether I catch them or not, that's the way I like to do it.
Let's see.
So it's a good time, right?
Well, Stella, I think we have volume now. If you can be back here, I'm pretty sure we do, but who knows? Let's see.
Confirmation from our tech crew.
Yeah, well, those that are out there, actually listening.
Stick or my mother.
Somebody, yeah. It says it needs volume, but I don't know. I can't get any of my phones to work. I don't know.
Imagine that here on Lake of the Ozarks.
Yep. No golf tonight this week?
No, I have golf. I have not golf. There's certain things that I draw the line on. When it comes to the heat, golf's one of those things that, for me, everything's got to be just right.
Hang on, got it, Daryl. Thank you. So I didn't turn down my music.
Oh.
So the music was going.
I
might as well just start all over.
Start all over then. I'm ready.
Like it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. I hope the sound's going now. I'm James Bryan along with Dion Hibdon. Welcome to Real Unfiltered Talk, and this is like our 13th time or 14th time we've done it, but I still don't know what the hell I'm doing running sound equipment and trying to manage things. So, it is what it is, but welcome back aboard, and we're glad that y'all tuned in. And it's Wednesday night at 6 o'clock here at the lake, and just a little recap because the music was drowning y'all out. It's hot. We're sweaty.
Yes.
Dion talked about sweat rings, and I'm glad the music covered that up.
Sweat rings.
Yep.
Get them there around your boobies.
Yeah. This is when you get into that whole
fat man marks. Yeah, that's right. That's a good one.
I think the term is called monkey butt.
Monkey butt. Yeah.
Monkey butt, swamp rear.
That's right.
All that stuff that comes in summertime fishing. Yay.
Yes.
Gross.
Yeah,
let's get that out of the way now. That just makes me want to go home and do some push-ups, which I'm not going to do.
Yeah. What are the chances of that happening?
Do you know, I don't talk personal a whole lot, but I took the last 4 days off and I painted my house.
Yikes.
I know.
So you know exactly where your sweat rings are.
Oh, God. I'm just tired. It's hot and it's tired and it's yucky. So before the show came on, we said, we're going to talk about tonight, and I said, we had a lot of viewers that really enjoyed our technique breakdown episode where we talked about summer fishing. and I thought we've got some changes that are coming on here in the next couple of weeks, and I thought we might want to just touch on it a little bit more on what we're going to see in the next couple of weeks, some techniques, some things that maybe they could pick up on. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we talked a lot about current, and if you're not from the Lake of the Ozarks and you're from somewhere else in the country, you probably are going to deal with current at some point or another. You're going to deal with wind. You're going to deal with all those kind of things. Um, but we focus on Lake of the Ozarks, kind of give people an idea what's going on. You can apply this on any lake in the country,
Yeah.
correct?
Absolutely.
So here's the phenomenon that's happened. We've had a ton of rain, and it's still, I guess, they're still raining down in Texas. They've got some flooding moving in. So maybe some tropical storms are getting ready to work their way in, and we've seen a lot of current. I mean, it's been going
It's
what, a couple months.
Yeah, it's been going hard for a month and a half, 2 months now, and it's still actually going now. You know, they're getting kind of in kind of a regiment of how much it is going. So it's a little bit more predictable, but it's got the fish fed up a little bit now too.
That's right.
They're kind of getting fat, and some of the fish you catch right now here are just beautiful. Big, fat, round. I mean, they're well fed and they look good and they're good and
And
healthy, and
and that's because they're eating good,
that's
right?
because they're eating
I mean,
extremely
that's
well right now.
right. So that's kind of what when fed up, you mean by fed up. They're not like fed up with with us.
Yes.
They're fed up like
Well, it
they've
does seem
eaten
like they're a
they've
little
eaten a
fed up
lot.
with us too,
Yeah,
but they've eaten well in the last month and a half.
tired of getting caught.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Crazy. So, gosh, I just lost my train of thought there, Dion. So here at the lake, we have and you can check with your local lake or river system wherever you're fishing, but we have what's called a lake hotline. And you can access river flows, you can access lake levels, projected forecast of um, flow rates,
Yep.
pretty well
Yep.
anywhere in the country. I think if you're in a locking system, you can always call what the harbor masters,
Yep.
kind of get an idea what's going to happen there. But here at the lake, we have it's a core lake above us and a privately owned power electrical
Union
dam
Union
below us.
Electric below us, but you can get the info off both of them.
Right. So I made a call before we got on the show, and what they're saying is the lake above us. Now we have a flood control lake above us, which is called Truman Lake. It was at 712, and I think 712 is the feet above sea level.
Yeah.
So normally full pull for it is 706, so it's still about 6 feet high. So in order to control that water flowing in, they open the gates, they produce electricity, and that's what develops our current
Yeah.
in this lake.
Yep.
30,000 cubic feet a second of water is what they're running through right now, which is a very good current, correct?
That's pretty good current if it's flowing out the bottom too.
Yep, out of
Yes.
both. But we have been saying for a couple of weeks now that when the current stops, the game changes a little bit.
Sure.
And the forecast with the people here at the lakes are saying that 30,000 for the rest of the week, get the lake levels pretty constant over the weekend, and then starting next week, 7,000 CFS.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a small pea trickle
Yes.
in,
Yeah.
in the
That
grand scheme of things.
you can't even notice that.
That's right. So things are going to start changing a little bit, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. They are. Things are going to change. The fish are going to slow down a little bit out there on that, main lake stuff. They already have a little bit. My opinion of that is when you do catch a good one, they're really, really fat right now and they're really healthy. They're getting fed. They're fed up good. They don't feed all day long, like they did when they were really post spawn. Uh, they're kind of getting past that. Happens every year. This year it lasted a little bit longer because of the heavy current. Um, Now they still take advantage of the current. Don't get me wrong. Anytime the current moves good and flows through both ends, they're going to feed in it some. But now they feed in smaller windows of time. Where before, if it flows from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, they would basically feed that whole time. Uh, and now they feed for about 30 minutes and then they shut off. And then when they get hungry again, they feed again. So the thing of it is your little bite windows are much smaller now. Um, Now, do they all feed off the same place at the same time? Not necessarily. So my theory is I fish a lot of places. I pull up, I make a few casts. Once you're lucky enough to figure out, okay, the fish are in, let's just say 10 foot. Now, right now, they can range. You could catch one. We had a guy in here just a minute ago said he caught some 25 foot the other day. I'm doing the same thing. I've caught some 25. Uh, but the main area right now is 10 to 15 for me. That seems to be where I key on. So I pull up on a point. I just from experience in my electronics, I make 4 or 5 casts in that 10 to 15 foot range. Normally, if they're there and they're feeding, it's going to happen in a few casts. You're going to know. It's really not that important on what you throw. We throw a jig and a worm a lot. You can throw swim bait. You can also throw a spoon. You can throw a crankbait. I like throwing bottom baits most of the time, especially when they start slowing down a little bit. Um, that way, when I get around a piece of brush, I can really fish it hard around that piece of brush. Um, but, anyways, I pull up on those places. I fish that 10 to 15 foot range where I want to catch them in a few casts. And if I don't catch a fish, I move on. I move to another one and try to find another point, and I do the same thing there. I get in that prime depth range for where I've been catching them, and I fish that. If I don't catch them, I move on to the next one.
Do you
Uh,
do you think that's more the big fish theory, dominant fish theory, or just the fact that they're just, as you said, fed up? They're just all big and fat and full, and you just get
I
one here, one there because they're still eating.
I think it's a combo of all of them. Yeah. Uh, I think the dominant bass definitely takes advantage of that a lot. 99% of the time in fishing period, uh, if you do pull to a piece of cover, like a piece of brush, if there's a big one in it, you're probably going to catch him on your first or second cast. Uh, if there's 2 pounders in it, that might be later on, your 10th cast or something like that. Most of the time, I feel like the dominant bass is going to eat first. Um, where it seems like that to me.
And you
Uh,
do believe in the dominant bass, or the
oh
the,
yes,
the dominant fish theory, I
I
guess you
I
call it.
believe in the dominant bass theory on everything. The piece of cover. I think if it's a small piece of cover, it's going to have 1 or 2 fish in it, and they're going to be big ones. If it's a big piece of cover and it holds 20 bass, they're probably all going to be average size. And the same way with the feed. I think your first cast or two, you're going to catch the biggest one that lives there. Uh, and it seems like that's that way with no matter what you're doing. If you're flipping bushes, if you're,
That is statistically correct, but it doesn't
yes.
always mean that's the rule.
Oh no,
You
no,
know,
it's
there's a
it's not always the rule,
we
but
were talking earlier. I'm going to fish a little club tournament again this weekend and try to overcome my 11 pound string.
yeah,
But we talked about it earlier. I'm going to go out and still catch those 2 pound fish right off the get go.
absolutely.
But there's those spots where you have those numbers of fish and they're all the same, but there's a mental aspect for me where I think that big fish is still going to be there, and
I
and he may be.
and I think a lot of times with a lot of fish and catching a lot of fish, you make that big fish weary sometimes. And when I say that, if you pull into an area and you catch 2 pounder first, they know that happens. They're standing right down there with those other fish, and on occasion, if you get that little one to bite you first, sometimes you spook that big one.
Which was
You
a
know,
great tip because I never thought about that. I'd go right into where I like to catch these fish, but not realizing I probably ran the big ones off because big fish don't get big by being dumb.
yeah, they're just you just got to consider one thing. They're just a good bit smarter than the other ones, and like I say, if my boat positioning and everything means the world to me. I make long casts this time of the year because I don't want to get right up on them. I don't want to get real close to them. I want them to see my lure first. And for the most part, like I say, I make long casts. I start out deep, work my way in shallow. That way I'm kind of staying off of the fish a little bit. Um, very seldom do I pull in and fish shallow to deep because I feel like when you pull in shallow and fish that shallow water out to the deep water, sometimes you get too close to the deeper ones, the deep fish. So, I almost always start out and way deeper than what I anticipate to catch the fish. Uh, that way, if there are some out there deeper, I'm going to catch them on my way to the shallower ones.
Right.
And it's just strictly boat positioning for not spooking them.
Right. And now I don't want to shift gears real bad, but I'm just for a second I'm going to, because I've been trying my best to follow online and answer questions as we go through the show.
Sure.
And it's been an age old discussion here at Lake of the Ozarks and probably on bass tournaments all over the country, and that's the release fish.
Yeah.
And we fish a 50 boat, 100 boat, 200 boat tournament. They all turn back to one location, return the fish loose, and then becomes the argument: what happens to those fish, and how does it affect the fishery? And what's survivability rates, and what's this and what's that? And it's an age old discussion, but especially in the summer months around released areas, you're going to find it's a huge effect, correct? Those fish do stay there, right?
Absolutely. A lot of them do. Yes.
So I mean,
We have a different situation here because we have so much food. And when I say that, Lake of the Ozarks is full of bait. Lots of shad, lots of bluegill, lots of everything for a fish to eat. So a lot of times when those fish are taken from where they live to a release area and turned loose, they don't travel a whole lot because they don't need to. There's food right there,
right.
and they can find the right water depth there pretty quick to where they're comfortable again. So a lot of times they don't move a whole lot right here. Uh,
Now, as far as affecting the lake, I don't think it really affects the fishery per se. Just there's just a more congregation of fish, but you don't see like an increase in mortality, or the only thing you see is a lot more people fishing in one area.
yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not a big believer that it really hurts the fishery a whole lot. There's and there are people and there are dead fish. Don't get me wrong. I have showed up at weigh-ins and see one floating here and one floating there, but most of the time that gets blown out of proportion really, really bad. When we get to a weigh-in, everybody takes good care of it. I mean, you guys got weigh-in tanks, you got water for the fish, stuff like that. Most of the time, the water's treated, it's cooled down. You put like some form of catch and release in the water. And so the fish are actually, in pretty good hands. All of the live wells that we have now, you got G Juice, you got catch and release. There's Fish Medics is another one. Uh, but I really think the thing of it is what people see in those dead fish. That's probably a fish that got gill hooked. Maybe a hook got really deep down in its gullet or something like that, and it was probably going to die anyways, which happens every day. You
Right.
know, uh, every now and then you hook one wrong, and he starts bleeding and he dies anyways. Um, but to say that the actual tournament kills a bunch of them, I really don't think it does. It just brings a lot of fish to an area and turns them all loose. And then if you see a couple of dead ones, everybody, oh man, they're all dying. No, they're not all dying. That's probably one that was gill hooked earlier or something like that and was probably going to die no matter where you turned him loose. Um, now I have heard rumors of when they turned them loose in a little flat bay or something like that, and the fish didn't leave quick enough, and they, had oxygen problems or something like that. But we don't have that problem here because most of our release areas are deeper and access to deep waters right there close and stuff like that. But yeah, you just take care of them. Take care of them as best you can.
And I guess I was leading into, so here we are in these 97-degree days and 85-degree water temperature. What does Dion Hibdon do to take care of his fish in the summer?
I the back compartment on my Camus boat behind my driver's seat is filled with ice, and I put about 8 to 10 bags of ice, small bags of ice. I fill that compartment clear full. When you first put them in there, they're good for a couple of hours. When you get to that noon time frame, add a bag of ice to the live well. And most of the live wells nowadays are swim through live wells. So if you add a bag to one side of your live well, it cools off all the water. Uh, and I also the way my live wells work, a little bit of water, about that much water, goes out of my live wells when I run down the lake. When I stop, fills right back up. Well, that's fresh water. That means I'm getting a little bit 6 inches of fresh water every time I get my boat on plane. And that's a big deal. Don't just get your live wells on and turn it on recirculate and just leave it at that, because then you have the same water in there virtually all day long, and you need fresh water. They need water out of the lake. Um, and like I say, so I make sure that I get them fresh water. If your boat doesn't have that kind of live wells, when you get on plane, run for about a half a mile, open your live wells up, let that water drain down a little bit, then shut it back off. You don't want them going dry, but drain a little bit of water down. Then when you stop, let it fill back up. Uh, Fresh water is the biggest key. Okay, and cool water is makes it nice too. It keeps them alive a lot better. Um, and I use a lot of G juice. I buy my G juice right here at Bryant's, and I buy it in a gallon jug.
Yep.
And
You buy 2 half gallons.
yeah, I buy two
Yeah.
half gallons.
Except it's giving you a hard time.
Yeah,
It's fine.
but I carry a half-gallon jug of that where you can buy it in 6-ounce versions. A 6-ounce version will not make it through the day for me. Uh, Now I put in the recommended amount. I only put in like a cap full, you know, like a shot glass full every couple of hours. But I am pretty religious on doing that. If I keep my fish in there more than 2 hours, they get a shot of G juice. And like I say, if I fish all day long, they're going to get 4 or 5 bags of ice. In those afternoon hours, I'll put a bag of ice in about noon, and then 12:30, 1 o'clock, I'll put another bag of ice in, and I just keep doing that all the way till 3 o'clock weigh-in time. Every 30, 45 minutes, I cool that water temperature down. Um,
Hmm.
and it's not a bunch. To say you're cooling it down 10 degrees, you're not. You're just cooling it down 5, 6 degrees a lot of times with a bag of ice. Um, but that'll keep them alive a lot better and a lot longer. If you make one bleed, it's good to carry a real high uh, a soda pop in the boat with you with a lot of carbonation. So let's just say I carry a Coke product because they have a lot of carbonation in them. If you have a fish that starts bleeding, you can hold him over the side of the boat and take that soda pop and dump on where it's bleeding, and it will clot that blood up. It'll stop him from bleeding. Uh, and if you stop him from bleeding, most of the time he'll live. I have tore the gills out of him, throwing like a big crankbait or a big spoon and have a gill tore loose when you get him in. And when that happens, that's a lot like cutting your throat. I mean, they can bleed out in a matter of minutes. And I've taken that thing and I've dumped soda pop on that and the hole where it comes out of his body, and it stops it. Like say, you won't get half of that soda dumped down on that stuff on his wound, and you will see the soda start coming out a straight color. It won't have any blood mixed in with it. Uh, it clots that blood up really, really quick, and it's the carbonation that does it.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's 100%
Okay,
true.
I'm just asking.
I carry a 2 or 3 with me,
Huh.
And I don't carry them in the cooler. That's kind of my little deal. I
Right.
don't carry them in the cooler because I think it's better if it's room temperature. The soda
Mhm.
is when you dump it on that blood. Uh, it seems like if it's colder, I have to use the whole bottle or a whole can to get it to do it. So I just
Interesting.
I just buy me a 6 pack of regular soda and keep it in the boat, and try to keep my grandkids out of it from drinking it out
Uh,
of my boat. But that's for fish care, fish relief.
I've been trying bourbon like for years. It's
Bourbon
not.
just makes them drunk and makes
They
them
they slows
stupid.
them down a little bit. I thought it'd be
Yeah,
like a more of a like a sedative, but I
yeah.
guess that doesn't work.
Every
So
now and then
I
they
have
get
to.
floating upside down in a live
I
well.
must have got that memo wrong because I
Yeah,
don't.
it's not bourbon,
Dang
not
it.
bourbon and Coke, just Coke.
Gotcha. Got it.
And if you want to be real sticky, Dr. Pepper. I mean, throw the doctor at them. Um,
Funny.
but
The
the
only.
carbonation makes a huge difference. Now they do make products now. I've told you at some point in time that I would find out about this, and I did not. But it's like Fish Medics or Fish Care or something. Uh, One of Scott Martin on the Scott Martin Challenge, one of his guys that's on his show with him pimps it really hard, and I've heard that it works really good. But it's
Hmm,
basically the same thing. It just stops them from bleeding. Um,
like peroxide.
yeah, kind of.
But I mean, I guess that the end result is do your research. talk to your other guys in the
Yes.
clubs and your tournaments. They'll share information with you, help keep your fish alive. The
There's
only thing I'd like to add, and it's a small easy hack that has worked for me, that a gentleman I used to work with, we were doing the Southern crappie tournaments. He said, just when you stop making a run, just take a white towel, get it in the water, and just lay it on the top of your live well
Yep.
lids, and just it reflects off that heat, and it just keeps your tanks a few degrees cooler, and that makes all the difference keeping
It,
your fish
it's
alive.
it's amazing what a white towel will do to anything.
Yeah.
It just cools things off. Uh, you know, you see a lot of different things, and a lot of guys that with the live wells that fill clear to the top now. You see them with the pool floaties in
Yep.
there. What the pool floaties do is keep that fish from banging up against the top of your live well. Uh,
On a long
on
run
long
and
runs,
rough water.
rough
Yes.
water, long runs, stuff like that. And I have done that, and that does work. Um, if you're going to be in a rough boat ride, excuse me, um, yeah, that works too. And that's just to keep the fish comfortable, so he doesn't beat himself up against the live well lids.
Um, okay, so we got that covered.
Gotcha.
We're
Yeah.
closing that chapter. I've got one that we've talked about a lot. You and I've never talked about it, but I'm kind of wondering. I've always been superstitious of what's on my hands.
Yep.
I think as much as you hold your line, that whatever comes off in the line, I think those fish can respond to it. So, what's your thoughts on suntan lotion?
You know,
You know, number one, you have to use it.
yeah,
I mean, sunblock, something. You got to get
yeah,
your ears and your
yep,
nose, and you got to stay protected in the sun in the summer months. But
yeah,
I see a lot of these guys who slather all over themselves and rub it all over, then they pick up the rod and reel and go to work, and I that scares me because I think that affects my fish.
yeah. I'm
Is
kind
that
of a believer.
crazy?
No, not really. I don't like a foreign substance being on my bait. Uh, do I think they sniff around on your lure? Probably not. That's probably one of the last things they do. But I do not want a real foreign deal on my hand. And like I say, sometimes these worms like we got, you get an old bag, lays out in the sun a little bit, and they get all greasy and oily. And I'm not big on that. I don't like that. So a lot of times I carry a bar of soap in my boat. I wash my hands. If I think I get that stuff on my hands, I'll wash my hands. Um, you know, Launching my boat, stuff like that. Putting gas in your boat in the morning. I
Gasoline's always a killer. Everybody,
yeah, I
everybody
keep
gasses their boats in the morning. They're
yeah I
getting
keep
gas in their hands. I don't.
I keep a bar of soap and I just clean my hands every now and then.
All
You
right,
know.
so prepping summer fishing, we got that. We got our fish care, got our skin care. Now clothing. What do you prefer to wear? I'm a shorts and a flip flop guy, and I like burning my feet.
I
I do, but I wear sleeves.
yeah
I've never wore sleeves, but I started wearing sleeves in the summer.
I wear sleeves. I wear this AFCO.
The new rash shirts.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wear AFCO shirts. There's lots of different brands. I wear their summer stuff. Um,
And they're a little pricey, but
they are, but
they
they
do
will
work. They
keep
work.
the sun cancer off of
Yep.
you.
I was
You
really
know.
surprised. The first time I was a little uncomfortable because I was still kind of hot, but you get used to it pretty quick. It's
Yeah,
not
and
bad. It's
and
really not bad.
and if you get the ones that they say are, make sure you get the right ones.
Mhm.
Because they're like anybody else. They make regular cotton T-shirts too.
I think it's called a UPF,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. They all have their summertime
Yeah,
shirts.
you can tell I
Uh,
did a whole bunch of research on
yeah, yeah,
that
a whole
stuff.
bunch.
It's the one
Uh,
that protects you from the
that's
sun.
right.
Get that one.
I could let you read my collar, but that would be weird.
Oh, I
But
got you now. Let me see what
this
this
is the
says.
one. This is the one that I wear.
You tore the tag off.
No, it doesn't have a tag.
Well, then how
It's
am I gonna read
print.
the tag?
It's printed.
It says, "Dang, this thing is big." It doesn't say.
It doesn't say what it's
No,
called.
it just says 4X. That's it.
But
AFCO.
anyways,
That's all.
yeah. Just you go to that. You can get Huck. You can get
Is
AFCO.
it Hook or is it Huck?
I think it's called Huck.
I think it's Huck, like Hook Finn.
Our tech guy just walked in. It's Huck, right?
Hey guys, I couldn't even tell he got his haircut.
It's
It's like
Huck.
got smaller.
Looks like a normal person.
I know it's weird, crazy. Anyway,
But
so
yeah, I wear long sleeves. I wear long sleeves. I still wear shorts. I can't. I can't be hot, but
yeah,
I do use sunscreen. I use quite a bit of sunscreen. The sunscreen I use is made by Mary Kay,
nice.
and it's a really really good strong sunscreen, uh, and it works. And we've been using it. Comes in kind of a yellowish orange bottle, but it's made by Mary Kay. You'll have to.
So Mary Kay, if you're listening, we're accepting sponsors
That's
for
right.
your
That's
sun
right.
care.
I've used it for 25 years. It's nothing new.
Because the Hibdon boys are not small guys. I mean, that's some acreage they're
It's
covering there.
yeah.
So
It takes me a
a
couple
lot of
gallon every summer.
jeez.
But
It
you know,
puts the
and
lotion
always
on
be
the skin.
careful. Puts careful. Be careful with your ears too. You know, make sure you get it on your ears good. Uh, get your ears good. Get your nose. Uh, because that stuff burns too.
Yes, it does.
When you're out there, make sure you cover your body. I start wearing a big brim hat too.
Do you wear the big floppy like straw one?
No, not a big straw one. You
Put a
know,
put a haze in
I
there and
I actually wear one of them ones that kind of is
like a boonie hat.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
You kind of look like one of them trout fishermen.
Yeah.
And not knocking trout
Flip
fishermen, they're
flop
very
a
very
floppy hat.
stylish. I mean,
They're pretty. They're way. Yeah, they're way more stylish
oh yeah, they look
because
much better than us.
bass guys don't wear cool clothes. They wear scary shirts.
That's right.
You don't have your sponsor logos on your shirts. That's the only time you look good. Other than that, and you ever notice the guys when they catch them really, really, really good, they put the shirt on. It's like an 8 boat tournament,
They look shiny.
and they're getting their sponsor shirt on because
Yeah.
they knew they whacked them. But if they don't do worth a damn, they got their white T-shirt with the barbecue stain on it.
Yeah, they walk
And
up there with their Bud Light shirt.
yeah,
or
and they're
something
like,
that.
the
Yeah.
hell with this. I'm not doing this at all. So, yeah.
I can't say that I'm not the same way. It happens.
Yeah, but you still walk up to weigh though.
I do. I walk up to weigh. If
I
I
know
catch
guys
them,
are like, you take them up. I do that to my dad. You take him up and weigh him. I'm gonna sit there in a boat and whine, turn into a
I
big
make my
baby.
wife weigh them in.
Yeah,
That's her big deal. She loves doing that.
that's fun stuff. Mercy. So I thought Dion tonight I'd pass it off and let him show a few things about some summer techniques. And I got a new toy here. I'm gonna see if it works here. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's see
Okay,
it.
so that's the opening slide. This is video capture 2.
Oh, there it is.
And I'm gonna try to transition this over. Boop. Do your hands work? Hey, it still
There we
works.
are.
So
There
here's
we are.
Dion's hands on the screen. And I thought we would take us a little bit of a little tech sideline here and show him a couple things to do this summer that might help out.
Gotcha.
What do you think? What's first?
Well, I tell you what. One of the biggest ones is like a shaky head type worm, and I use two kinds. I use this straight tail one like this
All
right
right,
here.
so I marked it wrong because like the left third is off the screen. So you got to move it to the right a little bit. Yeah.
Move it.
Can you see?
Move it here.
No, can you see over there?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see.
There you go. Now we can see it. There we
This
go.
is for me. That's my shaky head. Okay. You have two different style of hook shapes on your head. Uh, One's for a thinner bodied worm, which is this one.
Yep.
Right here. And then
There you go. I'll do
you
it
have
this way.
this one right here,
There we go.
which is made for thicker bodied worms.
That's like a
Okay.
wide gap hook.
Yeah, it's just a wide gap hook. Virtually does the same thing. You screw it into the front of this worm. You screw it on there like that. Stick it in there. Screw it on. There. Screw that deal in there like that. Oh, am I not on screen?
No, that's all right. I got it.
Screw that
I'm
dude
doing
up
tech.
on there like that.
This is how to rig a shaky head worm the right way.
Screw
least
it all the way up on
we
there.
think.
Put your flat side down. And then I bunch it up just a little bit. Like that. Go all the way through. And when you go all the way through, you hook it just like that right there. Just
Dun,
barely skin
Dun,
hook it.
dun, dun.
And
shaky-
that one is ready to go fishing right
Shaky
there.
head right there.
Shaky head. That will catch them right now, anytime through October. You can catch them on that type of rig.
That's a guaranteed 12 pounds.
That's a guaranteed 12 pounds.
You know how I know
That's
that?
right.
Yeah.
Because that's what you like, huh?
Yep. Green pumpkin red will smoke them.
That's
Promise
right.
you.
Another worm is we call this one a smoke pole or a cut tail, which is just another good straight worm.
Now we had a story about this before. Show them. Let's get that tail in there a little bit.
Can you see that?
So right above that, there's that red worm. That's a ribbon tail worm.
Yep.
Now, just so people know, originally the cut tail worm was the exact same worm as above.
That's right.
And somebody screwed up a mold or whacked one off on a stick or whatever.
Cut that tail off by accident.
And then all of a sudden they caught fish on it and went, holy cow,
That's right.
I just invented a cuttail worm.
That's right.
And then they run with it.
And it does look good in the water. It's kind of like that's just a little tail or a little keel. Um, I try to rig it to where my tail is up like this. Which does that make a
Yeah, you can see it.
does that
But
make a hoot and hell to
it's
the
real,
to a
real,
fish? Probably not.
real quick, back on the shaky head worm, one of the guys online asked, he kind of prefers the swinging head. Is he wrong on that? It's,
Uh,
a wobble, like a wobble head versus a standard shaky head versus.
well, a swing head is a kind of, to me, it's a totally different beast. Does it work? Absolutely, it works. But my shaky head, when it goes to the bottom, I want it to kind of control my worm and make my worm stand up. Okay, I want it to stand up like that right there. Okay, a wobble head, with it being loose, it can fall to the side some too. Okay, you get my drift on that?
I get your drift.
Okay.
Yep.
So for me, that's a different animal. Does a swing head work? Absolutely. Normally, I don't throw a swing head on a big worm like that. I throw a swing head on, say, like a, like a, like this, more something
Like a crawl body
like, yeah,
trailer or
like a
a creature
crawl
bait,
or a small creature bait.
small brush hog, something like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
something like that.
Right on.
Um, that way, because it doesn't matter if it goes side to side or whatever. A shaky
Now,
head mimics a minnow feeding on the bottom, so it stands up just like that. And what that looks like to a bass is a minnow feeding on the bottom. This minnow's going along on this head, and it's just pecking at the bottom, picking up stuff off the bottom, and it's a minnow feeding on the bottom. So guess what that is? That's something that bass looks at, and he thinks, "Ooh, that one's not paying attention," because he's not. He's actually feeding on the bottom. And I really think just because of the way the worm stands and the way the heads are made and makes it stand up like that, that's actually kind of a triggering mechanism to make that fish really thump it and bite it.
gotcha.
Um, a lot of your bites you get on a shaky head are really good bites. They knock the slack in your line and they really eat it. And I really think it's because it's not swimming along. It's actually standing there feeding. And I think it just makes a bass feel like, oh, he's not paying attention. I can for sure catch that.
Right.
Uh,
Now, I will say, you and I talk a lot about confidence,
sure,
and we can sit here and show you, any kind of rigging technique of whatever, but the term I've always was taught was dance with who brought you.
that's right.
So, and what that means is, yeah, there's a prettier girl out there, but you brought the one you brought. You gotta go ahead and dance with her a few times. So, but if it works for you, don't change it because we say so.
No,
It's just
no,
these
this
are
is just
just
our opinion.
it's correct.
This is our
This is
opinion.
opinion news now,
That's right.
unfiltered opinions. Because
And,
I mean that's just what it's this time of year it works. But if you've got some little secret, drop us a line, give us a picture, show us.
oh,
Well,
I've got buddies of mine that throw a shake head year round. They
I'm
throw it.
getting to that
They
point.
throw it in the wintertime. And
It's become very versatile.
yeah, it does because you can throw a lot of different lures on it and stuff. I like it because I can skip it a little bit better. It's all one solid unit, so when I go to skip it under a dock or something, it's a little bit easier than a Texas rig, somewhat. So I use it quite a bit. I use the shaky head a lot.
Okay.
So
So moving on, back to
moving
the
on.
back to the cut tail. You're talking about the action, and we talked about that, and just we talked about it before the show. It kind of made me smile a little bit. A lot of times, these new techniques were figured out by accident.
Oh, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
something Dion said earlier. He's like, it's not, they're not sitting in the engineering department at UTI or Berkeley Institute
That's right.
of Fishing. And that's no respect to Berkeley fishing, but I was just making a reference.
Yeah,
Like, you're not at the University of Connecticut in the fishing engineering department, and they're like, hey, you know what? Statistics show if we cut the tail off of
that's
this, we'll have a
right.
36% better chance of hooking up a
Yeah.
bass. No, not the case.
No.
What happens? Some hillbilly decided to cut something in half and try to rig it a different way and smoked them. And then he's like, holy cow, this worked. And then he told his buddies, and they started cutting them up. And next thing you know, somebody in sales shows up to a tournament, and they work for Yamamoto or for Berkeley or for Zoom or for
Yes.
whoever, and they went, huh? And they run back and they're like, hey, fill half that mold up with glue,
Yeah.
and let's pour them out that are only half as large. And next thing you know, you got a stubby worm special,
Yeah.
and everybody gets rich except for the dude that cut it up in the first place.
Yeah. A cut tail worm you can tell was created with a pair of scissors.
That's right.
or knocked off on the trolling motor as it was going in the lake. Uh, a guy made a bad sling and hit the side of the boat as it was going out.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then he looks down and it's in a fish's mouth and he's like, "Oh, I don't have no tail." That's how that came up.
I think that's how all the new live scope and forward facing and stuff, they got no tails or nothing. They're just sticks. And I think they're out in the water going, man, this thing's like traveling too much. I just want it to be dead sticking in the
Uh huh.
water. So I just cut all the arms and legs off of it. And it's like, ta-da.
That's
And next
right.
thing you know, everybody in the world's making these new, scope baits that are just a
Yeah.
straight piece of plastic with eyes.
Yeah.
Not that I'm bitter. I just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
dumb.
We don't
Anyway.
want to be bitter about that anymore.
No,
There's
no,
no
I'm not.
need.
No, I'm not. I'm not anti anything. I'm just saying that
Yes.
it's not, in my opinion, innovative.
No, not
So
really.
yeah. So anyway,
One of
sorry, my bad.
the next deal
Proceed.
this time of the year is a ribbon tail. And a ribbon tail worm is just got a big old wagging tail to it. It's an extremely good bait for wallowing around brush piles and just kind of it's got a slow snaky motion to it. It just kind of swims along. Um, most of the time I'm going to Texas rig it. I'm going to Texas rig it with
Hey, before you start, I have a question.
yes sir.
We were talking just before you got here today, and the worm has been around probably longer than any other bait ever made in the plastics.
Yes.
You know,
Probably. Yep.
the first plastic bait would I guess it would be a worm, wouldn't it?
I would have to imagine it have to.
So you can answer this because we really didn't have an answer. 22 years in the tackle business did not have an answer for this. What what was the worm originally supposed to mimic?
I think a worm,
Just a standard worm.
a
Now,
cream scoundrel,
right, and it was a natural brown, and then
natural browns, black ones. There weren't a
purple.
variety of colors, not a huge variety of colors.
Purple wasn't out yet. You
No,
shaking your head no out there.
no,
All
I'm
right.
pretty sure that a cream scoundrel was the first worm.
Okay, so was this was it raining and the worms all came out and they started crawling across the bank and then fell off the side in the water or up in a tree and they fell in the water
I'll
and
tell you
somebody
what,
went, hey,
you look at a natural. I think they
because
call
I've
it
never
natural.
seen worms swimming on the bottom of the lake.
No, but you see it when you get a big rain.
Do what?
Well, yeah,
Washouts, sure.
you get a big rain and you get a little flow in the lake or something like that. Yeah, there's worms there.
So okay, so originally it was for to mimic an actual worm. Today, it's really not quite the case, is it?
No, they mimic everything
Yeah,
now.
I
All
mean,
different kinds of stuff.
if you make a worm in a shad color,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yep.
not really mimicking a worm.
Yep.
So you know,
There's all this a million different colors now.
yeah.
That's why you have a
So
hard time keeping your tackle store stocked
it's impossible.
because you
Yeah,
can't keep them all. There's
I
no
mean,
way.
it never fails, and this is just me bitching about being in the tackle business. You know, you can put and we can use Zoom as an example. Zoom probably has on their best-selling baits what 300-400 color combinations,
Yeah, I
and
would
and
say.
just to be conservative, let's just say 100.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not a Bass Pro or a Dunn's or a Dick's or a Shields or any of those or Tackle Warehouse, you know, you're regulated to the 10, 12 colors that work at your lake. And
Yep.
then you can add 12 more. But there's always that one guy that comes in and he's like,
Yep.
hey, man, do you have methylate scuppernong?
Yep.
And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's scuppernong with a methylate tail.
Yep.
It's a special color. They made it in 1983. You got that one?
I
I'm like,
actually
what?
know. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even know if that
No.
color exists,
No,
but
they don't.
yeah. And I'll tell you something else real quick. Um, it came late in the year, but here recently, and we're in summer now. Why are people asking for white and pink worms now?
I think there's still a lot of fish because of the water flow. There's still a lot of fish up the lake, up shallow.
Up shallow?
Yeah.
And it's muddy, but I mean, typically whites and pinks, those were for the angler to see, correct?
Yes. Most
You know,
of
it's
the
for
time.
sight fishing. You can throw it up to the bank and you can see it disappear. You know, if the water was a little murkier, to know he picked it up and ran,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yep.
am I wrong?
Nope.
So
That's why I use them.
yeah, people asking for those this week, and I'm like,
Huh.
dude, it's June.
That's
You know,
right.
it's not supposed to be happening right now, but apparently
Yep.
maybe it does. So anyway, not to get sidetracked on that, but we're back on ribbon tails. Ribbon tails, you said you use them to quote unquote waller around in the brush.
A little bit slower motion deal. I'm not real
Waller.
fast with it. Waller. Yeah, I did.
That's what
use
you
Waller.
said. You used
Yeah,
waller.
I
Today's
did.
word is waller.
I did.
How does one
You
waller
ha-
a bait?
you have to understand how the I can't really say redneck, but the degree of redneckedness. How about
Red
that?
nakedness? That sounds like a nude hillbilly.
That's right.
That's redneckishness.
I'm telling you, it's me.
Oh, good.
It's
Oh,
me.
see
But
that.
so Waller's going to come out every now and then. But anyways,
Oh,
my only big critical deal on a big ribbon tail worm, uh, I do use an EWG style Yamagatsu, just like this one right here. This is the package that my hook comes out of. Um,
that says Superline.
it's called Superline, and the reason I use a Superline is because I don't like it to flex. A lot of people use the lighter wire Gamakatsu, and it works fine day in, day out. It works fine. But what you lose on it every now and then is a giant, and that's because the wire size of it is a little bit light. You'll set the hook on one, and you'll hit a bone on the way in, and sometimes it'll make that thing flex out a little bit.
We got
And
a online. It's redneckery.
redneckery, there
That's
you go.
redneckery. There we go. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you very
whoever
much. Yeah, it was
whoever threw that out to
Moore's
me.
Hunter Riddell. I think.
Thank you.
Can't see it on my glasses on, but
Yes,
yeah, thank you for the redneckery. So
yes.
we've got that. Okay, we're good. Back
But
back to it. Sorry.
but the lighter wire sometimes will flex on you, and the crazy thing about it is it's not going to do it on a 2 pounder. It's not going to do it on a pound and a halfer. It's probably not going to do it on a 3 pounder. But when you finally get lucky enough to get a 5 pounder to bite you, if he gets it too good and it gets him in the bone around the mouth, sometimes that hook will flex, and if it will, you're going to lose that fish. These are the next little. These are actually made for braided line, is what the super line was made for.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Didn't know
so
that. So
so
for
it
super hook for super line.
that's what it's for.
Wow.
Um, so you learned something today. How about that?
That's.
And you've been selling them for 20 years.
I just thought it was like a marketing thing, like it was like super. I guess should have said super hook, but
but
now I get it. I got to
but
see that
it
package
but
now.
it won't flex. But as you can see, it's
Oh
got
my
a
gosh.
super nice little point on it, a small barb, so it still penetrates good. It's not like, a lot of guys say, "Oh, well, that heavy wire doesn't penetrate as good." Well, if you buy cheap ass hooks, you're correct. It doesn't penetrate as good. So stick with your Gamakatsu's, owners, uh, VMC. Stick with a higher dollar hook when you buy them because they've all got better points. Uh, Eagle Claw makes some really good hooks now through Trocar, uh, or Trocar through Eagle Claw,
Now
because they have really exceptional points on them and stuff like that.
I have
Um,
I have noticed that VMCs seem to be a lot heavier grade hook. They're
VMC
really like thick.
overall, all of their hooks are a little bit heavier, and they've went to the right kind of points and barbs, so they're excellent hooks also. My theory on hooks is just spend that extra couple dollars over cheap hooks. Buy good hooks, um, and you're just gonna they just hook fish better. Uh, but I do stick with a super line hook when I'm throwing this bigger worm like
Hey,
this, like a 10
real
inch.
real quick, I don't want to interrupt you too much, but I'm going to interrupt you again. Have
Uh,
you ever read the teeny tiny print on the back of one of these?
no, I haven't.
It's kind of a cool little. Let me just read the last sentence. It says, "A rod and reel is an investment in fishing pleasure, but the Kamagatsu hooks are investment in fishing success.
That's
Finally, a hook worthy of fishermen who will settle for nothing less from the best." That's a pretty good little slogan on
that's a
there.
good quote.
Never read one. It's like teeny tiny though. Yet I had to put on my reading glasses to see it because I was going to see about the super line. It says nothing in here
Says
about for
nothing about
braid,
super line.
so I don't believe you.
Well, look it
So
up. You can
seven
look it
four
up.
four one four is for braid. Got it. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But that's the only thing that I'm really critical on throwing a bigger worm is I do throw a super line hook. A lot of guys still throw a straight shank hook like this one here. A big round bent straight shank,
Never
which
ever.
works. Which works. I like this hook actually if I'm like flipping in bushes and stuff like that. I'll use this hook over this one
How does do you rig
sometimes.
it the same way? How does
Basically,
just
yes.
like through the side and around and
Only
through?
only I use one that has a barb on it.
Yeah,
It has a little worm barb on it
just to keep from
to keep
pulling.
your worm from sliding
Okay.
down. Um, and sometimes I'll actually you know, snell it,
I never thought about that.
and,
Okay.
and that
Okay.
makes your hook kick up into the
Right.
fish's roof of the fish's mouth.
Okay.
Uh,
Do you believe when you hook them in the tongue they die?
oh, most of the time they do.
It's weird.
If they bleed out of the tongue, they're going to die.
Yeah. Just
But like say, Coke,
how
one of
does
the
it? How does one actually hook one in the tongue? Is it the fish just roll
it's
upside down and
accident.
I mean, that's just weird.
they get it in their mouth and they've got the whole thing in their mouth, and
Okay.
you know,
All right.
and the sad part of it is about 90% of the time when that happens, it's a big one
Oh, sure.
because they get the whole bait. They, instead of biting the back of the worm or just getting part of it, they get the whole dang thing in their mouth. And then when you set the hook, that hook can be anywhere in there.
Yeah, and I think that's you grabbed it up and put it in your hand, but I think the demonstration was good. A bigger fish will just he'll exhale and just suck the whole thing in,
Yep.
hook, head, body, bait, everything. Very rarely, and yes, I've swung on one and come up with just what you're holding. Well, you got to move up a little bit on the
Yeah.
screen there, but just from the hook back is all gone. Where he's
That's
grabbed it, and I've set the hook and just come up with nothing but like half that bait, which I always say, well, that was a walleye
that's
because it wasn't
another
it wasn't my inability to catch the fish. It was a non-game fish.
that's another reason why I throw a shaky head some. I throw a shaky head also for that very reason, the way a fish has to get it. It stands up, and when he comes down on top of it, it's hard for him to go too far. He just gets as much of it as he can. Well, a lot of times that head's still on the bottom, so he gets just the perfect bite on it. He
Gotcha.
gets the bite right here over the hook, and
Yep.
that's out of his mouth, and you get him in the top of the head most of the time on a shaky head, and it's just because the way it sets in the water.
Yep.
This
Cool.
swims through the water, goes through the water just swimming like this,
Yep. And the
and
tail
so
and the tail dances with a little more action.
yes,
You don't want to cast and retrieve.
no,
I
no,
mean,
not
but I mean, I can't
you.
say
You
not to
can,
because
you can.
who
The
knows?
guy that
That'll be
was
the next big thing is
the
the
guy in the Bassmasters on Wheeler Lake was throwing a 16-inch worm down there the other day, and he was pumping the heck out of it. Raising his rod way up high, pulling it up off the bottom, swimming it a lot. So, but in the summertime months, I do that. I Texas rig it with that hook, a big EWG superline hook, and not big. I throw a 3/0 and a 4/0 most of the time. Is about as big as I throw. Um, I hear guys throwing 5/0, 6/0, stuff like that. Really, you don't. That's a little too extreme. You don't have to do that. Um, I feel like the gap right here in this hook
Let's
is
scoot it
why
over.
you
There you go.
this gap right here. That's
It's the
why you
first
catch
night.
fish.
We're doing pretty good.
Sure, we're
This,
trying,
this new camera angle. So we're gonna
but
do the we're gonna add like side views next week.
but it's
Sorry.
angles. Yeah, we're at a whole nother camera.
I hope so.
But but those are really the hooks that I keep it pretty basic, pretty simple. Um, and then comes the jig.
And then one of the comments that was online, it was a story, but he said, last week I caught three and with a 10-inch worm, and they inhaled it and they're clearing the back of the throat. That's because those fish are just feeding good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
not a delayed hook set. You're not doing
No,
anything wrong, and of course he's not either. But
I
yeah,
get
they'll.
I get to use my Woo Dave's
Oh,
invitation.
okay.
Woo Dave's would tell you right up front when you get a bite on worm. Guess what? He ain't got no hand. He's got no hands. So guess what happened?
Yep.
What you felt was it in his mouth.
Yep.
So jerk. Do not hesitate. Don't wait. Don't think, oh man, he's eating it now. No, he's not eating it now. It's done gone.
But don't you have to do a much more southern accent? It would be like,
Oh yeah,
that
no.
fish ain't got no hands now, boy.
I can't talk.
Son,
I can't talk like Woo.
he ain't got no hands.
But that's the thing. And every good, now I make sure that I set the hook right. And that's a big deal to me is making sure that I lower my rod down, take out all the slack, and set the hook.
Sideways or up? Which way you go?
It depends. Depends on what he's doing.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it can. If I get one swimming sideways to me, I set the hook the opposite direction.
All right. So if your line's running to the left, you swing it and set it to the right.
If he's out there and he pops me and he's just steadily moving away or something, I just jerk straight up.
Yeah.
Whatever I can get the most steam and get all the slack out of my line.
And it's important, and I don't want it to sound, like chauvinist, but you got to set the hook like a man.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, don't be afraid to load up and really set the hook.
Yeah, don't be afraid to jerk because
don't double jerk.
If a bass closes his mouth completely around that jig and everything and clamps down, how many times do you try to catch him out of a live well and you can't get his mouth to open up?
Right.
Well, guess what? You're
thing.
trying to do the same thing with that jig in his mouth and like that, and all you got's the line coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care if you're using a 9-foot flipping stick with 100-pound braid. it's hard to make one break his jaws open. So yeah, I whack at it.
Okay.
I jerk, I jerk ever hard that my line will stand it.
I
So
actually knew that one, but I just wanted to hear it.
yeah, and but if it's close to me, if it's within 20 feet of me or so, I don't just try to cripple them.
Hmm.
I jerk, but I don't.
Yeah,
You know,
we got
you
some really good feedback online tonight. The term was "pour the coals to them."
that's
You
right.
gotta lay some coal on them.
Yeah,
Get them. Yeah,
pour
I
steel
like
to
that one.
them,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Cross his eyes.
That's right.
Heard that one. What's
And,
another
and
one?
and you're talking to a guy that used to think that they had to come in the boat when he jerked.
Right.
I used to jerk hard enough that some of them just gave up from the get go. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, jerk their lips off.
There you go.
There's
Is that
there's
the
all
term
kinds of
"ripping
things.
lips" came in?
That's right.
There we go. All
But
these
you
catchphrases
also, in this day and age, you don't have to do that because all of your hooks, if you buy high dollar hooks,
are sharp.
they're sharp, sharper than what they used to be. They have small barbs,
Mm-hmm.
so they penetrate easy. So you really don't have to jerk like you used to. 20 years ago, equipment was not what it is today, and that's what you got to keep in
It
mind.
makes it easier.
Makes it easier. That's right.
Yep.
You can screw up today and still catch it.
And I have to just add this because we didn't talk about it, and this could be like 10 episodes worth. But you got to change your line. You've got to retie your hook. When you're fishing around rocks and structure, and you're doing bottom summer fishing like this, and I don't care. I think there's two rules. I think Mr. Hibdon does it after he catches every fish you retie.
Yep.
I used to, at least. I don't
I
know.
do.
You're
I do
probably
it.
lazier now. You don't do it as much.
Well, I do it in major tournaments.
There you go.
Anytime I'm fishing for a lot of money, I do.
Yep.
And
But
my
it's
dad did that for a couple of reasons. A couple of reasons. Testosterone is not your friend in bass fishing.
amped up.
Yes, if
Mhm.
you get amped up after catching a 5 pounder, you better settle down, because odds are when you throw right back in there, you're probably going to get another bite. Because he probably wasn't there alone. And if you're really amped up, you can jerk too hard. You can set the hook the wrong way.
You
And you don't think about it.
you said that on camera during the FLW championship in 2000.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know you did because I was there.
Well,
I wasn't there in the boat with you, but I watched it.
and I
And
screwed up.
no. You caught a fish and you said, and you said, Dad told me this, but he said, it's a good time to sit down, retie, think about your next cast, calm down, collect
Yep.
yourself.
All you do
but
is you're settling down. You're kind of letting that adrenaline get out of your body a little bit, and you're just settling down just a little
yeah,
bit.
it's
You know,
smart. I
and
mean,
and the thing of it is, on these Ozark lakes, anytime you get hung up, I mean, you get hung up on a rock, and that boogers up that line a little bit. And when I say that, just retie. Why take
sure.
that chance?
And it doesn't hurt to run your hand up and down. If you don't want to
No.
retie, run your hand up and down the line a little bit. Just feel for abrasions,
Any little burr,
kinks,
any little
burrs.
abrasion.
It'll help because
Yeah.
you're going to catch that big one, and you're going to wish you hadn't checked it earlier. So
Fluorocarbon line is probably one of the better innovations in bass fishing in the last 20 years. And it's also screwed up more good bass fishing than anything has. And it's because it's fragile. It's super sensitive. And I love using it, and I use it on my worms and
Hate
jigs
it.
and stuff like that. But it's fragile.
I hate it.
If you throw out there and you get a real hard backlash, and when I say a real hard backlash, I'm talking one that you have to dig at to get it pulled out, odds are you are going to kink your line in that backlash bad enough that it will break right there. So you have to be very conscious of it. And when I say that, if you pull that line through your hands and it feels like it's kinked a little bit, you got to cut that out. If you don't cut that out, next time there's a lot of pressure on it right there, it's going to come in two. And that's the one that you set the hook on and it breaks down in your reel 20 feet from the fish, and you think, oh my gosh, what happened? Well, that's what happened. um, and if I get hung up and I have to pull my line to snap it loose or something like that, I'm going to wind it in. I carry a pair of scissors in my front my front holder, cup holder on my boat, and I bend over, I cut that thing loose, and I retie it. Your fishing line is the weakest link between you and the bass.
And the
So,
knot.
yeah, and the knot.
Knots are coming down the road.
Yeah.
We're going to have a whole. It's
And
going
so
to be a
just
boring
take
show,
your
but we got to talk
time.
about it.
Take your time, redo it. You're not in that big a hurry. I keep 4 or 5 rods laid out sometimes with multiple baits of the same kind on. Uh, and that's just for the last 2 or 3 minutes of fishing in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need that rod out all day long? Nope. But when I need it out is the last 10 casts of the day, when I throw out there and I get hung up and I'm like, ah, dang, I need to retie that, but I don't have time. And when you do that, 90% of the time you're going to break one off.
Yep.
And you're better off just throw that one down, pick up another one, make another cast, and go with that. I mean, you got to retie a lot with fluorocarbon. Mono is much more forgiving. Uh, and if you don't use fluorocarbon, you're not going to know the difference. It's not going to make any difference to you. Uh, if you don't want to use it, never put it on a rod and reel, because if you do use it and you get a good bite on it on a worm, you're never going to use anything else because it is more sensitive. And like I say, for those of us, I find it in the wintertime more when the bites are really subtle. When you just barely feel one bite you or something like that, that's when I really feel like my fluorocarbon's a big key to me. The summertime months, I just use it because I like feeling that good crisp bite. Do you have to in the summer? No, not at all. But just retie it. Retie a lot.
And then waller them.
Waller them around.
You done talk about the jig?
No, I haven't talked about a jig yet.
All right, so we're back to the jig. Sorry, I interrupted with the line. I apologize.
This is the other lure that I throw a ton. This is a Hibdon's hammer.
A little higher. You got to move it up a little bit. There you go. That's your zone.
The thing that I like about this one is the hook. The hook shape, like that right there, that's the hookingest critter that you ever seen in this day and age. It's in a few jigs. I string on a swim and tail trailer, something that swims. String that dude up on there.
Doesn't matter if it floats or sinks.
Huh?
You like floating pinchers?
That's not for this time of the year.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Not for this time of the year. String that dude on there.
Hard to find anymore.
Yeah, they aren't easy to find. But that right there is fish catching.
That looks pretty. I would have cut off a little bit and shortened mine up.
Well, that's because you catch 11 pounds a day.
That's right. Just rub it in.
I fish for.
But that's 60 pounds a week.
Yeah, but
so I'm just saying now.
I fish for 60 pounds in 3 days. I'm only going to fish 3 days to get 60.
Well, I mean, you can shorten one up on a compact bite,
well, absolutely,
though, so,
you can.
And make fun of me all you want.
I do it certain times of the year, but this time of the year, most of the shad they're eating are that big.
Yeah.
They're
How big?
In my hand.
Oh, big. I was like that big. I'm like,
no, some of them are as big as my hand. And so, so that's not a key right now.
So what do you think? Do you think the second shot was a success tonight? I liked it.
The second shot.
The second camera angle.
Oh, I love that angle.
That's a good way to use that some more.
Yeah, we can use that for
a lot of things. We can draw like pictures of the lake and stuff.
We could.
Stick figures. We can play hangman.
I'm probably not going to draw.
It's going to be fun. All right.
But it is good for the baits. I mean, you can see the hooks.
You can see it a little bit better. And we'll
send us a comment if you liked it. I mean,
Well, we don't care. If you don't like it,
If you don't care, just be nice.
Just listen to it on Apple. So you can't. Because this one won't go on Apple because everybody's like trying to listen to it going, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But in the summer, we just fish lounge around a lot on the bottom. And when I say lounge around, that's where they spend their time relaxing.
Descriptions are great tonight. The waller a bait, they're lounging around. It's like
when
they're hot.
Out,
are you saying they're hot too?
When they're hanging out, most of the time it's going to be in a little bit deeper. They're going to be closer to the bottom because it's a little bit cooler.
They're chilling.
They're chilling.
Okay.
That's right.
I got it. They're chilling, waiting for something good to come by.
Yep.
Got it. Good stuff. Dude, that was our hour.
Really?
Yeah. We killed right through it. We slam dunked it.
Here, this little deal right here.
Uh-oh. Shameless plug. No, I'll put it back on. Hold on. Here, I'll get it. See, I'm learning. Let me just do that right here. We got one more thing here. Let's go to Lure Cam. Here's to call it the Reel Unfiltered.
Got it.
Excuse me, Lure Cam.
Okay. Anytime you're fishing this time of the year, or any time of the year, carry one of these in your pocket. And I'm not going to open that up.
You can open it up.
As you can see, this is about a 3/4 ounce weight, and it's got a wire holder on top of it that you clip on your line and send down to your lure anytime you get hung up. And most of the time, it'll bounce it right off.
And I hate those.
Yeah, because
I want them to sell more baits, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm
My,
in the business of selling
do
jigs
you know
too, but
my
I
my dad carries around a golf ball retriever. You seen
say, yep.
those with a big long stick? He's got to get this thing out and he's got to crank it and spin it and
Well,
um.
if you're throwing a $20 crankbait, that's not a bad thing to have.
I guess, but I mean, we get them wholesale.
Yeah. Well,
Saves a little bit, you know. I don't know.
yeah, but do you sell them wholesale? That's the thing. See,
True. No,
that's not
I
helping
don't.
John Q.
But
Public.
you know, the cost versus retail is like 30 cents. So who really cares?
Yeah,
Might as well pay
you
retail.
don't make a lot on
No,
that.
yeah, Tack Luncher's got a huge markup.
Yes.
Oh,
That's why you're so rich.
that's right. That's why we're here at the podcast going, hey, send us
That's
50
right.
cents.
That's right.
Looking for sponsors. Give you 2 years. No, I'm kidding. It's funny. No, Tack Luncher's been great. 22 years worth. I can't complain. You know, and the lights are still on, so it's
That's
okay. It's
right.
all good. I'm not saying it because next thing you know, tackle companies be calling me and it's like you can't buy our stuff
That's
anymore.
right. We're not selling to you.
Butthole. It's great. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, anything we say on this show,
We're
nah,
just joking,
it's true,
kinda.
but we're kind of joking too. So
Yeah, yeah. Our Big Ron just texted and said sorry he couldn't make it.
Oh
But Ed's gonna be. We're gonna have to give it an award in the year. I don't think you've missed a show yet, have you?
no, he's been
Yep. One
very,
show. He missed one show.
very loyal.
Our Ozark Hillbilly Santa Claus. So it's all good. So yeah, I don't have any. I don't have a shameless plug today. I always plug ourselves. You know,
Yep.
we're here at
Osage
yeah,
Outdoors.
we're here in Laurie, Missouri. We're on Highway 5, north side of on the west side of the lake. And if you're in the area, want to look us up, you can drop us a line at askrealtalk@gmail.com. Give us a holler here at the store. We have a few seats available tonight. You know, tonight was a low turnout, but our faithfuls are still here.
That's right.
They're eating my beef jerky and drinking my beer.
That's
So
right. We
it's
got to
all
hurry and get
good.
off here before all the good stuff's gone.
Nah, it's all good. You know, I was saying earlier before the show started, not a whole lot happening out there in the fishing world.
Kind of quiet right this
It's
minute.
pretty quiet this week, so I really don't have an angler of the week. We're going to talk a lot about it next week because I'll have my on hand. You know what? I think I'll set up a GoPro this weekend. Maybe I can put a little video up of my escapades on my 12 pounds I'm going to whack
There
out
you
on
go.
Saturday
Twelve.
with the sweat perfume. I'm going to up myself about a
12.
quarter
That's
pound.
optimistic there
That's
now.
right. That's right. That's because I'm going to use a jig
There you go.
without cutting the trailer down. I knew the secret now.
There you go.
So no,
I've
but
been
here's
telling you.
to wrap it up. This is what I'm going to do. The one thing that I took away from our meeting for myself is I'm a very shallow fisherman. I love fishing shallow. Even if I'm fishing main lake, I'll fish shallow and work out, you know, to the deeper
Yeah.
part. I want to fish as close as I can to those rocks and nitpick around. And I fish really close and I fish on probably way on top of the fish more than I should. So what I took away tonight was this weekend I'm going to hold way back when I go to my favorite spots. I'm going to make some long casts to them. I'm going to use some different baits, which I'm not going to discuss tonight because there's some competitors out in the crowd tonight. So I've got to fish against them. But I'm gonna switch up some baits. I'm gonna make some longer casts so I don't spook the big one if he's there. Then I'll move on up and get those little guys that aren't afraid of me because I mean I can catch them off the side of the boat.
The
You know it's crazy. But yeah,
fishing is no different than deer hunting. The bigger he is, the smarter he is. And
right.
you just have to keep that in mind when you're chasing.
I say it over and over again. Big bass don't get big by being dumb.
That's right.
Otherwise, Johnny Dock owner would have already filleted him and had him on a steak
That's
on the
right.
grill. Because there are people out there that do eat bass.
Yes.
It's something that I kind of enjoy it. I always hear that good purist bass fisherman come in and go, you know what? He said I was fishing along the bank and this guy catches a 5 pounder in front of me and then fillets it and rubs it in, and I'm just like, dude, it goes to this old outdoor writer, and he used to tell it to me. He's like, I don't know why you boys got to go put them fish back in the lake. It's not like they're an endangered species. And I thought, well, that's true. You know, so
Our,
you kind of have to remember that when we talk about fish mortality, we talk about guys that eat fish, you know, and I still need to get a biologist in here because they don't stock them. You know, they don't stock this lake with trophy fish. They grow
no.
on their own that big. So it's healthy. And there is a balance of nature that happens there. The cycle of life where people there's a percentage of people that eat them. There's a percentage of people that kill them. And there's a percentage of turtles that get the rest.
Yeah.
So it's just part of it. But I'd like to know how we can make it a trophy fishery and put some stocks in Florida strain in there or something.
I don't think Floridas live here. I don't think.
That's why we need a biologist. I want
Yeah.
to have this conversation. So, but we'll work on that. We had one of our fans on Facebook asked when Mama Stella was coming on. And for those that don't know who Stella is, which if you don't know and you're watching this show, you might as well just tune off and never
Yeah.
tune back in again. But
Yeah.
Stella Hibdon is
You're
the
not
mother,
invited.
the first mother of bass fishing, and we've been waiting for her to get out from underneath under the weather a little bit. She's been having some spells, and
Yep.
not none of our personal business, but I'm going to air it out because she watches anyway. We were thinking about you, and you get going, and we as we get smarter with using this computer, well, she's down in Alabama. We'll just FaceTime her in. We'll have her on the show,
That's
but
right.
so we might have to pre-record it because it might be a lot of editing need to be done there. I don't know.
She's a tough talker.
I just can't. That had to be like 3 episodes, I think.
Yeah, that would
There's
be.
just way too
That'd
much
be a
stuff
good
there.
show.
I mean, we could have a whole show just on your upbringing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just cool.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I know. We don't even get into fishing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what we got tonight. You got anything else you got?
No, I'm good. No, I think the
Yeah.
show was good.
I think.
Yeah, I think
It was
I hope it was good.
awesome, man.
I hope
Come
you guys
on,
got
it's
what
great.
you wanted out of it.
Yeah, and always we welcome your questions, your input, anything you got, and we've been doing this every other week. We do a tech week, we have a guest week, so we'll bring somebody in next week. Don't know who it's going to be yet. We've got some people lined up. It's just whoever can make the schedule and come in. So we'll have a guest on next Wednesday at 6, and if you want to come join us, you're welcome to do so. But for tonight, I think that's all we've got. I'd like to thank everybody out there. Don't forget that you can watch us on YouTube. We're on Apple, Buzzsprout. I said YouTube, right? Facebook
Yep.
Live on Wednesdays. And go like our page, subscribe to YouTube. We love you too, Stella. She said, love you, boys. See? It's on there. And see, I started listening to her because she said I needed to start, recognizing people online. So thank you, everybody. Put your comments online. I'll start paying a little better attention and answering questions as we go. And yeah, for all of us here in the crowd, thanks guys for showing up. And Dion, thanks for another informative night. And for all of us, be careful. Wear your kill switch and your life jackets when you're running at night. Remember the rules. Green to green, red to red, all is well. Go ahead. When in danger or in doubt, run in a circle, scream and shout. From all of us, Real Unfiltered Talk. Be careful, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Now I got to figure out how to turn this thing off. I'm on the wrong page.